What's going on, everybody? I'm currently at work right now. This is SO Chris, 199 security officer, and I'm going to tell you guys about a video I actually made about 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago, when I worked for this Rover security company. I was still a security officer, even though we didn't have like hands-on training. It was kind of weird, but I was the Rover guard for 14 elementary middle schools in this zip code. And back then I made this tips and tricks video for, like, you know, if you're entering security or you don't know if like you want to stay in security and like just try something else for a job. So I'm going to be telling you guys about like what you're like, basically what to expect, some tips and tricks, like to, you know, basically how to get through the day, how to do the job correctly, how to make sure you're filling out your DARs correctly, you know, things like that. I'm going to take a swig of my satanic milk here. It's kind of like the staple of the channel now. So it's really not that difficult. The whole reason why I even came into security, and it's not really, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a thing where I was ever like seeking to do this. It kind of just happened by accident, and I ended up, you know, becoming really good at it. And the thing about security is like one of the like good benefits, especially if you're not working on mornings. Currently at my job, working at the mental hospital, I am on the day shift, but the day shift is actually, the job is actually great because all the people that I work with in like upper management and people like that that are usually here like Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5, they're all like really nice, like cool people. They're not, it's not like some other jobs I've had where they literally have like their thumb on your neck the whole time, you know, you're here at work, where you have to be seen at all times. Where are you on your 15-minute breaks? Where are you on your lunch? I mean, I literally worked at a job that was actually 2 jobs at a security job before this one, where I had to call out, you know, we had to memorize all the 10 codes. And one of them was we had to call a 10 code saying, I'm going to the facilities. So they even wanted to know that you were like going to use the bathroom. Like that's how strict this job was that I used to work at. But at this job, they know that like common sense wise, like why would they need to know that that's your personal time? But there have been jobs I've worked at. Thankfully, it hasn't been that many of them, but I have worked at like security jobs where they literally needed to know where you were at all times. I probably worked at like 2 jobs that were like that, like 2 separate posts or 2 different, well, technically it was 2 different companies, but yeah. I mean, there's really only type A like personalities that can do something like that, to where like you don't mind just standing and talking the whole time, like without having like a vehicle or something like that. If they put you on the exterior, or what's called on the 20, you got to have a real strong type A personality to enjoy doing something like that, and to be able to, you know, come to work day in, day out. And it's just, that's just what's expected of you. To me personally, I couldn't stand it. Most security that I've worked with, and I've probably had about 7 different security jobs in the last, well, technically like probably maybe like 5 or 6 actually, because 2 of them were transfers. So it was still the same company. I just went to a different location. But in the last 4.5 years at this point, I definitely would say that every time I've interacted with someone in security, whether it be like just a regular guard, supervisor, like whoever it was, even like team leads, they would all prefer to work either the evening shift or the graveyard shift. Because just something for you guys out there, if you want to make this like a long lasting thing to where you want to stay in security for like a long period of time, you should put in like your transfer to go to like a 3 to 11 or like 11 p.m. to like 6 a.m. Because if you don't mind staying up all night, it definitely is, like, I would say, the better option. My personal favorite, they don't offer it at my job now, but they used to. And also a job before this one, when I worked at a different mental hospital. Because like I've told you guys in the past, my specialty for being an unarmed security officer, is hospital security. It's It's definitely kind of one of those things where it's like, it's either you're going to get, like, if you're a security, you're going to get sent to a call center. You could get sent to a strip mall. You're going to get sent to like the BART or the Amtrak. You're going to get sent to a hospital, government building. You might be a rover for like a school district, like what I was telling you with my last job. But I mean, when it comes to unarmed security, there's like a whole bunch of different options. I mean, one time I was sent to like a construction zone that was like abandoned. This was like a long time ago. This was like 4 years ago. But it just depends. But so anyways, if you want to make this like long, like lasting, I would definitely suggest to get on the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. and make sure that your DAR is always like filled out correctly. I mean, even if you're like still filling it out on paper, make sure you're hitting those patrols. So thankfully with the current job that I have now, we don't have the TracTick phone. We do have a TracTick phone, but it's not used for that. It's used to just take calls if there's emergencies or whatever. I mean, excuse me, I got a walkie-talkie here, but just make sure for whatever it is that they're asking you to do for like the DAR reports every day. For my job, what they require is they require 1 report per hour. So I work 12s. That means it's got to be 12 reports, but it doesn't have to be super long. They said as long as you basically just get the gist of it when you're typing it in the notes on the computer. So most of the security jobs I've had, when you're filling out the DAR, it's on paper. And then they just take the paper, they put it in a binder, and then they just put it in like their files area. And that's pretty much how it was done, unless you were just supposed to just type it out on the TracTick phone, which I've done both. I've done where you had to do it on paper, the TracTick phone, or when you just have to use the computer to log into their website and fill it out like that. So personally, what I would do to suggest is make sure just to fill something out every 2 hours that you're at work. And it doesn't even have to be long and detailed unless that's what the job's asking of you. But yeah. So one thing I would definitely suggest for if you want to make this long, like if you expect to stay in security for like years at a time and make it kind of like your career option, because a lot of people don't look at it like this, but it's true. Because you have to get your training, you pay like, I think it's like $110 to get your card, and it's good for 2 years, and then you renew your card every 2 years for unarmed security. So if you're taking an 8-hour class to get this card, it's technically a trade. So what we're doing is like it's a trade job, even though it's really like easy to get into. So anyways, when it comes to being unarmed, I would definitely suggest for you to not have to be around a lot of staff members and like upper management and things like that if you feel you can't like handle it. And if you're one of those people where you just struggle to sleep at night anyways and you feel better sleeping during the day, your best option is just to take the graveyard shift or take an evening shift. Because if you prove, like, here's another thing. So like if you can prove that you're like a solid worker, you do everything that you're asked to do, whatever it says on the post orders, you just knock it out every time you go in a shift, they're not going to come looking for you. Like, they're not going to randomly be showing up. Like, if you're trusted by them, like if they see you on the cameras, like walking around your job, or they see your patrol vehicle with the lights on, like driving around and whatnot, like if you look good and the company sees that like you're working and they can prove it by checking the camera footage, you're going to be fine. So that's what I suggest, to go there. Make sure you fill out all your reports on time. Make sure it's like in a timely manner. And I guess another tips and tricks kind of thing. Like I'll just do this one for like call outs. Make sure to always do the call out like at least like 24 hours in advance. I know a lot of jobs say like you got like 4 to 6 hours, but if you give them like a day in advance, it kind of makes you look better because it makes you look more professional. I'm not saying, I mean, even if it's one of those things where like you're at like a really hard post and you need, you know, like to take like a mental health day, like that's fine too, but try to space it out like once every 3 months. That's usually what I do. If I'm getting like way too overwhelmed, because at my spot, they do require at times for you to go like up to like 16 hours. Like if someone calls out or something happens or there's an incident and you're expected to figure it out and then write out the incident report, and if you have to work with fire and AMBO and you have to work with, you know, like, you know, EMS or like whatever the situation is, it's okay to have to use some of that sick time. Like once you hit your 8 or 10 or 12 hours of like sick time, and you're just like, you know what, it's Monday or tomorrow's Monday and I just can't come in, I can't do it. Go ahead and just call out and just take a mental health day, then come in the next day. And if you need the money for the hours, just call your supervisor or call the lead or whoever your district manager is, like whoever's the booker, and ask them if you could just come in and do an 8-hour shift, like to make up for your hours, so you're not. It's like a helicopter over my job. Anyways, so you're not like over your hours. So, or I mean, not over your hours, but you're not under your hours. So you're not going to get undercut or underpaid. So, because sometimes the sick time doesn't go through for like whatever reason. Something you got to like, you always have to be on top of it. But that's like something I would suggest. Like if you're going to make security like a long job, like it's something that you want to do for years, if you literally can't stand it and you feel you're about to snap, just take the mental health day. I do it once every 3 months because for the most part, I'm kind of a workhorse anyways. I feel fine usually most of the time, unless something's going on or whatever. Just take that mental health day. Try to do a later shift, because if you do a morning shift, especially if you just get into security, it's going to be really stressful and you may not be able to handle it. And just make sure per the post orders or like whatever you're asked to do that you're putting in everything on time. So if they say we want you to write a DAR once every 2 hours or we want it every hour, just make sure you hit those so you always like look good for the company, or even if you're contracted, you look good to the client. All right, so this is SO Chris 199, and I'm giving it to you raw and unfiltered here. So go ahead and take this advice.